Welcome, everyone, to a NAMI Davidson County education session. Tonight, we are welcoming Ashley Blum from Park Center, who is their developmental director. Excuse me if I mispronounced that wrong. She is going to be presenting tonight on solid foundations, stable housing for people living with mental health conditions. So we really appreciate Ashley taking time out from her busy schedule and presenting tonight. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley and get us started.
Thanks, Don. Hey, everybody. Good evening. I'm glad to see you all, and I'm really excited to be here to talk to you all about my history of supporting people through the housing process here in Nashville, Davidson County. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can get going here. Are you all able to see this PowerPoint? Great. So I just wanted to start by, this is not where I needed to be. I wanted to go ahead and start by just kind of telling you a little bit about my background, because I think that that is helpful to the context of this presentation tonight. I've been at Park Center for 17 years, and for about 15 and a half of those years, I was the director of the homeless outreach program. And for 2 of those years, I was the director of our residential services, our housing program. And so I have been in the Nashville community for a long time, but as you can see, a lot, my main background was in street outreach and homeless outreach. So this presentation is really from my perspective of working in the homeless outreach world. Park Center is a mental health organization, so everyone that we serve experiences a mental health condition. So in this presentation this evening, I'm really going to be focusing on housing process. So just when I'm speaking through this presentation, just know we are working with, like, everyone that we serve is experiencing mental health condition, substance use condition, and homelessness. And or homelessness. Not all of our programs are homeless outreach programs, but the one I was over, I'm really speaking from that perspective tonight. So I just wanted to kind of lay that foundation for you all. So this is what we're going to do tonight. We're going to real informal. Like, if you have questions as we go along, please stop me. I know that there will be time for questions at the end as well. But we're going to do some introductions, because I really do enjoy knowing who's at the table with us, and knowing who I'm speaking to, so that I can help kind of tailor some of these conversations. It's very conversational, so I just want to make that clear as well. We're going to go through some definitions that I'm going to kind of touch on throughout the presentation. We're going to go through what we know. We're going to go through navigating systems, engagement strategies, and then some Davidson County services that could really benefit you all, depending on if you're caregivers or peers or service providers. So, and then we'll leave some time for questions. So first, let's start with some introductions. With it being a small group, I think that we can all go around and just unmute and introduce ourselves. I'm really curious about why this topic is important to you and any expectations that you have for the presentation. So again, as Dawn said, my name is Ashley, and I use she, they pronouns. And so I would, and why this topic is important to me is because I've been in the work for a really long time, and people matter, and people's experiences matter, and they deserve to be in housing and affordable housing. And so it's just really important that I am part of these spaces to be able to help those processes with people. And my expectation for the presentation is that you all gain something from it. So if we want to just go around, I would love to know who's here. That'd be great.
Hi, Ashley. This is Shelby. My name is Shelby Davis. I came from Park Center, but I'm now at this house. I decided to join this Zoom meeting because I would like to learn more about the homeless population now that I am more involved with homelessness and reentry.
Hi, Shelby. I wondered if that was you,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
me.
couldn't see your face, and so you never know.
Yeah, I'm just down leaving the gym. So yeah.
Okay. I'm glad you're here.
I can jump in. I'm Eileen Wolf. I go by she, her. And the topic is important because we get a lot of calls and I have a lot of families. And my focus is families at NAMI. And they are trying to understand where someone might get what system for housing. They have a loved one that is either past their crisis or maybe they're an aging parent and they just know that they're not going to be around. And so what are alternatives for their loved one? And it's just a real concern. It weighs heavy on a lot of families, or maybe their loved one, it's just not a good option to have them live with them. But they want to know what could be an option for their loved one. So there's an education piece for us. And so my expectation would be the learning, what kind of options are out there that I can try to relay so that families can help guide their loved one.
Hey Ashley,
Thanks,
this is
Eileen.
Daniel.
Oh, sorry. Hey, Daniel. No,
Hey,
I was thinking Eileen, sorry. Hi,
yeah,
Daniel.
this is Daniel. I go by he, him. This topic is important to me because I've been in uh, the whole stage of of transition. Like I've been from housing to hospitalization to group home and then back to housing. And resources played a big role in what I was able to do. And some of my friends uh, are still struggling with housing, and I just wanted to find what resources are available, what I can help them with, how I can point them in the right direction, and just kind of steer people towards better solutions.
Thanks, Daniel, for sharing that.
I can go. My name is Brianna. I am a behavioral health clinician. I've actually made a few referrals to Park Center in the past from an inpatient side. And I guess what I'm looking for is to know some of the current trends among that population since I'm no longer on the inpatient side.
Great, Brianna. Nice to meet you.
You as
I'm,
well.
I'm Don Liacano. I use they, them pronouns. Yes, I'm the director of programs here at NAMI Davidson. So I'm here partly because I talked to Ashley about this topic, but I'm here tonight also as a peer who is concerned as I get older about housing. I am estranged from my older family, so I don't want to be relying on my 19-year-old down the road, but I do have concerns about housing and my options, especially since I'll be honest with everyone that when my suicidal ideations come along with my depression, one of the first things I start to do is catastrophize. And I start thinking I'm going to be living in my car, I'm going to be living in the street, I'm going to be institutionalized. And instead of feeding that, I want to know my options down the road versus worrying about it all the time when again those ideations do come up. So that's why I'm here tonight.
Thanks for sharing that, Don. Appreciate that.
This is Ann. I go by she, he, or she, her pronouns. I'm interested because I support a brother who's 72 years old and was homeless at one point when he burned down an apartment complex and lost everything. And we had to start over and find housing, find resources. But he just is not, he's resistant to following rules and such. So he's been evicted a couple of times from apartments. So I'm concerned about what the future holds, and he can't live with me because he's very angry with me. But anyway, I'm hoping to just get some ideas for what the future may hold.
Thanks for being here, Anne, and sharing that. I hope that we can help give you some guidance tonight.
My name is Amanda. I'm here both for personal and professional reasons. So similar to Dawn, I'm a peer with lived experience and just kind of want to have a sense for what's out there. I'm also the practicum coordinator for the social work department at Middle Tennessee State University. So, and I've only lived here for about 2 years, so I'm still learning a lot about trends in the community as well as resources. So I'm really excited that you're here and to learn from you today.
Nice to meet you, Amanda. Thank you.
Okay, I can go. My name's Mahogany, and I am a psych nurse practitioner, and I work with actually neighborhood health, and I do street medicine. And so we work very closely with Park Center, but just interested because see it on an everyday basis. And so just really trying to figure out how we can serve our clients better. And then eventually in the future, because this is just very near and dear to my heart, I would like to switch over to possibly becoming a provider, a service provider, as far as offering supportive housing and just kind of trying to be a part of the solution. So just here for that.
Nice to meet you, Mahogany. Crystal Wolverton is my favorite person probably on this planet, aside from my family. So I love that you do street medicine. It was really wonderful starting that with you all.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anybody else that's on the call that hasn't introduced themselves if they want to? No pressure, you don't have to. I just was curious. I only see like 6 people.
I'll introduce myself.
Okay,
I'm Pete Bird. I'm having a tour of duty right now as executive director of NAMI Davidson County. And there's so many challenges facing people who are wrestling with various forms of mental illness. And the fact that we can even use the word options is a little surprising, because even people with no mental health problems and decent incomes are finding housing as very daunting in this community, and things are getting worse before they get better. And so it's nice to be able to talk in terms of options. I know they're limited, but it's nice to know that there are agencies and people who are working on it. And, you know, you have to work on a lot of fronts, but that's what it takes. And so anyway, as part of that role with NAMI, I've wanted to tune in to the Zoom tonight and just see how others are approaching that challenge, because I think it's going to take many hands to make the work lighter.
That's right, Pete. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you,
and
Ashley.
thanks for being here.
My name is Heather Dudley. Are you guys able to hear me? I don't know.
Yes. Hey, Heather.
Yes.
Hi. I am a person with lived experience with severe depression, anxiety, a lot of I am physically disabled, and I've been in recovery for a few years now. I'm doing a lot better than I was, but I have been a part of Choices in the Choices with Blue Care programs for like community living, and it's been really tough because I've lived with many caregivers in their homes and had pretty bad experiences, unfortunately. And so I'm actually wanted to join this because I'm looking for my own place, and I do receive disability, and I'm wanting to get a job in the next few months. I'm looking right now, but finding just affordable housing has been extremely difficult, as you all know, and especially in Nashville, where I am. And so, yeah, I just wanted to see what kind of options there were for people who want to live independently in recovery. So thanks for holding this.
Heather, thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad you're here.
Have we missed anyone in introductions? If not, Ashley, I think you can move forward with your presentation.
Great, thank you all for taking the time to let me know who's here. I think it's really important. That was weird. All right, so we're going to just jump right on in. I first wanted to just start with some definitions so that you all are have a foundation to what we're speaking about today. So has anyone ever heard of Housing First? The model of Housing First? Thumbs up. Okay, from a few of you. Housing First is essentially immediate access to permanent housing with no housing readiness requirements. So the person doesn't have to have income, doesn't have to have be in mental health treatment. It's member choice and self-determined. So it's like, you know, we give people the options of what types of housing levels that they'd like. It can be recovery oriented. You know, they don't have to be, I know a lot of programs require you to be like, you know, in recovery from substances. With Housing First, that is not, you know, you do not have to be in that space. It really is about putting someone in a home first and then addressing the other needs. Okay, so that's a definition of Housing First. We will talk through some of that later on in the presentation. Permanent supportive housing, this you'll hear is PSH. This is a permanent housing program. It's long-term and a lease or rental assistance provided. There's supported services attached. It improves housing stability and health, and it helps prevent evictions. So this is a type of housing, a level of housing, and we'll talk more about that later as well. Supportive services. It's really designed to help people build independent living skills, connect with community resources, and maintain their housing. So often y'all will hear like a case manager, like you'll hear the term case manager or care manager. Supportive services is different than that, right? So case managers are usually connected to helping someone get connected to med management, or maybe someone's mentioned choices program. So those are, you often get like a case manager from Blue Care or from, you know, United or one of the behavioral health organizations. Supportive services really just goes alongside housing. And then, oh goodness, I don't know what just happened. Hold on a second. Can y'all still see my screen?
Yes.
Do you see like my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. I was trying to get the pictures of all of y'all away from so I could read it. Okay, and then supported housing is another level of housing. So you have like permanent supportive housing, and then you have something called supported housing. And supported housing is a housing service that provides behavioral health and psychiatric rehabilitation in the home, and it requires Medicaid. So psychiatric rehabilitation is going to be like educational services to help people learn more long-term independent living skills so that they can eventually move out of supported housing into more independent housing, like permanent supportive housing. So another term that we're going to talk a lot about is care coordination. So this is where staff work across programs, either at Park Center or other organizations, and build strong relationships to organize and communicate about members' care, people's care. So just really being deliberate about sharing information and establishing accountability and agreeing on care. And then we've got another term that's called Certified Peer Recovery Specialist. This is the CPRS. You'll hear me talk about this a lot. This is a person who has lived experience of mental illness, substance use disorders, or co-occurring disorders, who's made the journey and allows and who can help others by sharing in their experience. And then peer support is the work that those CPRSs do. So peer support really empowers people living with the behavioral health challenges to receive help from someone else who's kind of been there, done that, who's experienced it. Perspective and experience is super important. And then we're going to talk a lot about access to some things. So we're going to talk about the Social Security Administration. Y'all may see it be SSA. This is the government agency that manages the Social Security programs like, you know, we'll talk about SSI and SSDI, retirement benefits. SSA is the government agency that deals with all of those things. And the Disability Determination Service, which is DDS, which you'll also hear, that's the agency that actually makes the decisions, the medical decisions on whether someone is eligible for SSI or SSDI. So DDS is made up of examiners and doctors who evaluate medical records to determine if someone is medically eligible for supplemental security income, which is SSI, or Social Security Disability Insurance, which is SSDI. So are y'all familiar with SSI and SSDI? It sounds like one person shared that they were on it, but are y'all familiar with these benefits?
It'd be great if we heard just a quick summary of them.
Sure. So supplemental security income is SSI, and it is a federal program funded through the SSA office to people who are unable to work based on medical conditions. So this is basically, it is for people who have limited resources. So we're gonna, like, folks that are eligible for SSI are going to have, maybe they haven't worked enough in the past, they haven't paid enough into the FICA system to be able to collect some money. The Social Security Administration in 1972 created SSI because so many people were unable to work, but they hadn't, and because of their mental health conditions or because of physical health conditions, that they hadn't paid enough into the system to be able to get some back, like with retirement or, you know, Social Security disability insurance. And so SSI is going to be a set federal benefit rate, and we're going to go more in depth about this in a minute. But this is like in Tennessee, it's $942, I believe, that people get every month from SSI. Social Security Disability Insurance, and I see I have a typo here. Social Security Disability Insurance. This is someone who's insured. They have paid into the FICA system to be able to get some of that money back. So you all know with retirement benefits through Social Security, once someone hits a certain age, they can draw retirement benefits. Well, with Social Security Disability Insurance, you don't have to be at that age. You can, if you have a mental health or a medical condition that limits your ability to work, you can apply for Social Security Disability Insurance. Same with SSI, but this is just with SSDI, the benefit amount will be based on your credits, your work credits, on how much you've paid into the system. And then another term we're going to talk about later on is SOAR. And so this is SSI, SSDI, Outreach, Access, and Recovery. And this is a national program that helps people with disabilities access disability benefits through Social Security. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. And we're also going to talk about individual placement and support. This is an evidence-based model of supported employment for people who are experiencing mental health conditions. And the only thing that they have to say is, I want to work. And so I think someone mentioned that you were looking for a job. Well, these IPS coordinators, these supported employment coordinators, can help you get connected to work. So I'm happy to answer more questions at the end about that. And we are going to go through this a little bit more. This is just the definitions portion. So this is where I jump in to say what we know about people and about people that are experiencing mental health conditions, really about anybody, right? Like everyone deserves affordable and sustainable housing, period and paragraph, regardless of whether you have a mental health condition, a substance use disorder, whether you're experiencing homelessness, like everyone deserves to have access to affordable and sustainable housing. And when people have a choice in their housing, there are better long-term results. So we also want to give everyone a choice. Like this is Luke here, okay? And so he experienced homelessness for a really long time. And I share this story because, and he's given us permission, of course, but I share this story because Luke was someone who, and we'll go over this in a little bit, but we as a community have worked so hard, and we are not nearly close, but we have worked so hard to have a continuum of housing. And with Luke, he tried multiple different levels of housing and they didn't fit for him. And when he moved into Park Center housing, we were really focused on, and we are focused on everyone's needs and saying, what is it that you need? And when people have experienced homelessness for a very long time, or maybe they've lived with their family and that's all they know, there are things that we need to do differently. So there's not a one size fits all. And so when we give someone a choice on their level of housing or on what they need, and we ask them what they need, we are going to have better results. And they are going to
recognize her. I can't really see her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was someone talking to me?
It was just background noise. I took care
Oh,
of it.
okay. I'm sorry. Sorry. I was like, was someone asking me a question? And so then we'll, we'll have better results if we give people choice, right? You all want to have a choice in where you live, where you work, right? So like everyone deserves that. And also just addressing housing first. So that housing first model that I was talking about, it's very important that we address that first. So we know that housing is a human right. We know that housing is mental health care and stability and a sense of security and belonging and critical, and it's community and it's access and it's health care. Because people are dying on the streets, or they are not getting the care that they need in these nightly rentals, or these some of the unlicensed group homes, right? And they're not getting the support that they need. And so, and a lot of people, I experienced cancer, and so I have met several people that have been unhoused because of their cancer diagnosis. And I share that because it's important. Like, it's very important to me because I can connect with them in a way that is different than other people, right? Like, I know that it was very, very expensive. And I see people all the time that, are living in their car because they experienced cancer and they've had to pay all these medical bills. And so when you actually get someone into housing, they are now no longer having to worry about where they're going to keep their medication because they don't have access to a fridge, or they're not worried about where they're going to sleep. You have to get tons of sleep. If you're in chemo, you're exhausted all the time, right? So we think about all of these things, and we know all of these things are rights to folks. Like, people deserve all of these things, and we know that housing provides that to them. So I can't see folks, but I'm curious, who has ever felt like the system is this top left image? If you can come off mute and share what that top left image has you feeling like.
Yep.
Yeah, right. The systems just make you feel like you don't know where to turn, and you get told no, or maybe, or you're on a waiting list, or never, or I'm stuck, right? And so what we've tried to do in Nashville, and I'm going to talk about this on the next slide, but we've tried to do in Nashville is really getting us to a place where we can hold each other's hands and help them step on stones to their own recovery, right? So we want to be stepping stones for people's recovery. And we don't want that top left, but we know that the systems bring people through that. And so when I talk about navigating systems, I talk about we have these big systems in Nashville, and then we have like smaller systems that really help us through. So we have, a big continuum of care. The continuum of care, these are some more definitions that I just, I'm not going to read this to you, but I do want to explain these because it's very, very important. Nashville and most cities have what's called a continuum of care, and it is funding comes down through HUD and to nonprofits. There's a board that sits that helps direct where funds will go so that people can have access. And so this continuum of care really helps connect people. And again, most cities have a continuum of care, and there's these open forum meetings, and everyone is able to go. And I'm happy to send more information about that. I just want y'all to kind of understand these systems. So we've got this continuum of care. We're really trying as a city to focus on like a single point of entry where everyone can get entered into a system. Really, these systems are designed to help prevent homelessness and to help get people out of homelessness. So I recognize that there are a lot of people who may be living with family or friends or whomever, and they aren't experiencing homelessness at this very moment. But this is one option. And so I'm trying to explain that there's just different systems. And then we have what's called, it's a little smaller system from the continuum of care, but it's our coordinated entry. And it's like I said, a single point of entry where everyone needs to get funneled through the coordinated entry system so that then they can get to the right place. That's the biggest reason why often we do this top left corner, or, we're getting told, oh, go to this place or go to this place, go to this place. And then you've gone to 20 places. But with this coordinated entry system, our hope is that we can get everyone to one single location, not physical location, but one single system, get every person into one single system, which the homeless management information system is what the database is called. But this coordinated entry, we can get them into coordinated entry, and then we can do the care coordination like I talked about before, and really make sure that folks get to the right place. Because there's nothing worse than going to a building and a nonprofit or like a housing apartment complex and saying, I'm here to get some housing, and they tell you no. And then the next place tells you no, you don't qualify, you don't, right? So if we can get you into coordinated entry, then people can get you to the right place. And there's organizations that can get people entered into coordinated entry. Metro Social Services is one of them. Room in the Inn is one of them. So it's just important to know those places, and I'm happy to send links and all of that if you need them on how to find that information out. So like I said before, like this image is really powerful to me because we have to keep, like, systems are huge, and we as a system know that one size does not fit all. I mean, you can't fit a square peg in a round hole, right? Things happen, eviction happens, people crumble, or they end up in the hospital because their symptoms become more severe. There's all different things that could happen when people think that, oh, this housing is available, but this person is not interested in that housing. That's why we really need to dig deep and hear what people need and want for themselves. They deserve to have that voice. So this is the housing continuum that we have in Nashville. And I'm going to go through kind of what some of these arrows mean to me. So you're going to have folks that are experiencing homelessness. Maybe they never experienced homelessness. Maybe they started out in, transitional housing, or maybe they started out with a family member in affordable ownership, right? So this continuum is very important to kind of embed in your mind, because there are different levels of housing. There's different options for housing. And the person who's looking for housing is the person that needs to decide what level of housing they choose. Again, we're going back to that. If people have a choice, just like you or I, we all deserve a choice. We all deserve a voice. And if we have that option, then that long-term success is going to be top of the list, right? So you have homelessness, you have emergency shelters. So we have places like the rescue missions, and we have family shelters, and emergency domestic violence shelters, and you have different shelters that kind of fall under that category. And then you have transitional housing programs, and that's going to be things like supported housing, which we talked about before, where it's not long-term. We hope that you will learn the skills that you need that can get you into permanent supportive housing or affordable rental housing, or maybe even own, right? And then you have, your recovery housing under transitional. You have anything that does not have that solid lease. So Shelby, I'm curious, is dismiss considered transitional housing? I'm just curious.
Yeah, but more so for guys coming out of incarceration.
Totally. I just was curious because sometimes that's the case. Sometimes people are experiencing homelessness after incarceration, and they could potentially go to dismiss. I was just curious if y'all have a lease there, like if y'all have a year-long lease or anything like that. It's more of transitional.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
well, I was going to get into this field because I'm still like learning business. I know when the guys get there, they don't have to pay rent for the first month, and then after that, they'll have employment and they're able to pay rent. But it depends on the floor. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So we have other organizations like Dismiss, and like Matthew 25, which is also a transitional housing program. And I mean, then you have your recovery housing, and you have different levels in that transitional. And then you have places like permanent supportive housing, like Park Center has a huge permanent supportive housing program that I was part of around 2014 to 2016. And it's great. I explained the PSH model a little bit ago. So you have that. It's got support services, and it's got recovery aspects to it. And then you have affordable rental. So you have this next level of people can move out of our housing, our PSH housing, because maybe they no longer need that supportive service. They have learned, how to live on their own. And we have a lot of people that do that. And then people can buy as well. There's absolutely options for people to purchase homes as well. But I have these arrows because it is a continuum. So we have this idea, or there is this process, and Park Center does have a continuum of housing, because we have had people that have lived in our PSH program, and they have needed our supported housing to go, so they've needed to go back to that transitional housing model, because they needed to learn the supportive services that came in once or twice per month was not enough. And so they needed that more kind of group home setting to learn those skills. And then they were able to move back into PSH once they learned those skills. So just know that there is a continuum. You don't have to start in a shelter. You don't have to start in transitional housing. You can go directly into PSH or directly into an affordable rental. Just know that there's always other spaces if you need extra help. And so that's kind of the purpose of this slide, was really to show that there are options. There are multiple different types of options for people. And you can go from one to another based on your need at that very moment. So some of the steps that we need to take to determine with people what level of housing, navigating the levels of housing. So it's like, how do we know what level of housing someone needs? Because oftentimes when someone's maybe at Middle Tennessee Mental Health Institute or a psychiatric hospital, and the social worker is trying to find housing placement for them, they're just going to automatically put you into like a group home or a halfway house or what have you. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just, because the social workers are so stretched thin, like I'm not, like there's no way they can find independent housing for people because they're trying to get people out of the hospital. So just know I'm not, throwing them under the bus or anything like that. But my point is that we really need to assess we need to assess the situation to know what level of housing someone needs, as well as hear their voice, right? If they're saying that they do not want to live in a group home and they will not work well with other people, then we need to find other options for them. And so we need to assess their income status. We need to assess whether they have insurance. What is their housing desire? Do they want a single occupancy? Are they okay with shared housing? And we need to assess their level of support and what they want. And also what we as family or, social workers or case managers, because we all have a voice. Obviously, the person who is looking for the housing leads it, right? They are the one that knows themselves best. So it is important that we listen to their voice. So one thing I wanted to kind of touch on is the income status, and we've talked about this in the beginning, but two really important ways to get someone connected to income is to either send them through the SOAR program, which we explained earlier, which is that like assisting people with SSI and SSDI benefits, and also the IPS model. So Shelby does IPS at Dismiss, and so Shelby, if you have things to add to this, I welcome that. I've worked at Park Center for many years, and we've had an IPS program there or an employment program there for the large, like probably out of the 17 years we've had it there for probably about 12 years. We've had an employment program, so I know it pretty well, but Shelby's been living and breathing it. So if you have things to add, I absolutely welcome them. But as far as the SOAR stuff goes, it's really important if someone doesn't have income. Now, there's a lot of PSA, there's a lot of Housing First programs that will take someone without income. But there's few of them. So Park Center is one. And I actually don't even know if there's another one in Nashville. I know that there are some rapid rehousing programs that it's not permanent housing. It's more, it's housing that's funded through that continuum of care and MDHA, but it's not permanent housing. So I'm pretty sure Park Center is the only one, but we do take referrals. So, but it is important to figure out if someone has income and if they're eligible for income. Oftentimes people do not think that their loved one or that they are eligible for disability benefits because the criteria is very strict. But Park Center has a disability assistance program. We have a SOAR program that I ran for almost 16 years, and it is phenomenal. Like we've had 60, let's see. So I asked them for the statistics yesterday. We've assisted 1,680 people since inception in 2006, and we have a 96% success rate of approvals and an average of 60 days. So oftentimes people think, oh, disability benefits is going to take me 2 years to obtain, when in reality, if we can just get you to a SOAR coordinator, then it's very, very fast. It's a very quick process if we have everything we need. And oftentimes people are trying it on their own, or maybe they're with an attorney. And in this case, SOAR is going to get it much quicker. We get funding from Metro or the state to help people get on disability benefits. So we have no financial gain from it. Whereas an attorney may take a little bit longer because they can earn money from it, right? So it's just really important to get connected. But these are just some information about disability benefits. You have to have an impairment that limits your ability to work and make what's called substantial gainful activity. So substantial gainful activity is the amount of money that you bring in per month, and you can't make more than $1,550 a month if you want to, if you're eligible to be eligible for disability benefits. So just kind of keep that in mind, that that's the threshold. So many people say, oh, I work part-time. Well, it's not about working part-time or how many hours, it's about how much you bring home. So, and if people have frequent hospitalizations, then more than likely they're going to be eligible for disability benefits if they're not working and making more than that $1,550. I misspoke earlier. I think I said $942, but it's $943 per month for SSI, and then for a single individual, and then it's $1,415 for a couple. And then SSDI amount per month is based on your FICA contributions. So that's going to vary person to person. And then supported employment is the individual placement and support model that I explained earlier. And it's an evidence-based model that supports people that experience mental health conditions and just say they want to work, and they use the competitive, they help get competitive jobs. So historically, employment programs had literally looked in the community and said, oh, hey, we have someone that's, we have openings at Walmart. Well, then they just try to put everyone at Walmart. With the IPS model, it's really about gauging what the person wants. So they really look at, you know, the job that the person wants. We've had someone say in a few years back, I had someone that I worked with that was working with an IPS staff, and she said, I want to be an astronaut. And no one laughs at you. No one says, oh, you can't be an astronaut, right? We say, okay, so that's a goal, right? Like if you have a goal to be an astronaut, let's figure out how we can get you close to that. And then we say, okay, well, you know, the Adventure Science Center has a planetarium, and you can go and you can help run that. And that's the job she got, because that got her closer to that goal. And because we know when we have a choice and when we're happy, we're going to stay. So that's what this model is all about. And it's really important to get people connected to that, to either one of these. I mean, you can get disability benefits and employment at the same time. A lot of people think that you can't work while being on disability, and that's a myth. You absolutely can. You just can't make more than that $1,550 from employment.
I will add that we have benefit counselors now, so they are able to assist individuals who are receiving benefits with reporting their wages now. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Did y'all get that through the state as well?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. We got some as well that can help navigate. So that person who spoke up earlier that's wanting to find a job, like the IPS model would be perfect, especially since you receive disability benefits, because they can help you, and the benefits counselors can help you just like decide, okay, how much can you make so that your check doesn't get turned off? Because a big key part of getting disability benefits is that you get either Medicaid or Medicare. And so with SSI, people get Medicaid, and with SSDI, people get Medicare. And so that insurance piece is critical to continuing your recovery support, right? And so if we can help, you know, through the benefits counselors to get people connected, it just adds to the benefit. It adds to the support. Thanks, Shelby.
You're welcome.
Okay, I feel like I'm kind of running through this. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some engagement strategies and how and best practices for engaging folks that are wanting housing. I know that there are some caregivers on here. I really do speak to meeting people where they are. That's one of the most important things, not just where they are emotionally and mentally, but where they are physically. It's so important to go to people and not requiring people to come to you. So if you have someone that lives in your home, obviously, that you're trying to assist with housing, going, talking to them while they're at the house, that's probably pretty obvious. But if you are a case manager, or you're an outreach worker, or you're a family member of someone that's living maybe in a shelter or has been evicted, going to them and helping them through the process and talking to them and not requiring them to like do things over the phone. Or, oftentimes people will say, I want to get my child into Park Center. And so we'll say, all right, come on over, like come to a meeting, come to the building. The family can bring them to the building so that they can see it and they can feel the energy. But if someone's residing outdoors, we don't require them to come to us. We go to them. And these are two of our staff that have taken services to people in their homes, because that's how important it is to meet people where they are physically. I mean, I, for years, have sat under bridges with people, really talking to them about their needs and about what steps they want to take. And that's how you get people involved. I mean, I think one of you, I believe it was you, Anne, that said that you have a family member that's a little bit resistant to housing options. And there's nothing better than sitting with that person and just, and it not being their family, right? Like their family needs to stay their family. And then we as outreach workers or community partners can sit down with someone and really build rapport and build trust and build those connections so that we can get them connected easier. And we've seen so much we've seen so much success with that, just being out there and being connected with people to where they trust us. And I mean, the street medicine stuff that y'all do over at Neighborhood Health is incredible, because that's how y'all are building that trust for them to come into a clinic. We do the same when it pertains to housing. So we really need to listen and honor.
Can I just
Sure,
add
please.
to that a little bit?
Sure.
So just from a street medicine position, and I'll never forget when I first started, and we had got it was the first gentleman that I was working with that we got into housing, and we thought it was just so great. And we got him into housing and all of that. And I remember it took him 6 months. He would take his tent every night and go outside and sleep in his tent behind the apartment.
Yep.
Because it was such a shock to him.
Mm-hmm.
And not only it was isolating, it was anxiety provoking, it just so much more comes along with it. That's why, like you said, it's so important to kind of meet them where they are. And just because we think that it's so great, I'm not saying housing is not great. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm just saying as far as, you know what I mean? It would be like taking one of us and putting us in an environment that we have no idea how to navigate. And so that was just very eye-opening to me. And so eventually he moved from sleeping outside behind the apartment. So we got him to actually move into the apartment, and he stayed in his tent in the living room for a little while. And then, eventually he, but it just is more than just putting people into housing. It's wonderful when you talk about meeting people where they are.
Yep, that's exactly right. I mean, we've had the same exact thing happen. And, whereas these, the neighbors were like, you've got a tent pitched up in the back. We're like, we know. We're allowing that, because again, we can't expect people to be a one size fit all, right? Like we can't expect people to take those steps that they're not comfortable with. This is Dwayne here. He's one of our members still. He's been in our housing since 2017. And this is when I first met him. I first met him, and the very first thing that we talked about, we didn't talk about housing. We didn't talk about, disability benefits. We didn't talk about anything except that it's hard to tell in this photo, but his hair was a huge mat, a big mat, like a big lock. And the first thing he wanted, he hadn't had a shower in 15 years. And the first thing he wanted was a haircut and glasses because he kept running into walls and police kept thinking that he was intoxicated. He couldn't see. And so, I mean, yeah, this is just meeting people where they are. This is listening to their needs. You know, if someone's not ready for housing, keep showing up, right? And that's just the way it works, is that you keep showing up, you keep building their community. I had someone call me the other day who was interested in services for one of their loved ones, and she was like, they're not ready. And it's like, okay, well, we meet them and we just keep showing up for them until they are ready, because that's what we do. And then let them lead, right? Like, it's so important for people to have that say. Their experience and their choice is so, so incredibly important.
Ashley, we have a hand raised. Heather, do you have a question?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt or anything, but
no interruptions. It's great. Thank you.
this is thank you, Dawn. I am so like almost emotional hearing this in a good way, and like refreshed, because I feel like I know just in my personal experience when I was dealing with like a lot of delirium from like medical things, but also like psychosis and depression. I was not always trusted, and like they're like you guys are saying, with people who aren't, I guess, experienced with someone who's mentally ill. It's like I felt like a lot of times they would kind of be like patronizing in a way of like, you know, thinking, well, no, you need this, you know, kind of housing or this sort of transitional help. And yeah, it's just like, this is very great to hear that you guys are like actually listening to us and trusting like our own lived experience and narrative. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's really special and really important that we hear that, because I mean, this is just the way of our work at Park Center, and you know, it's really important that other people are that way too, because you all do not deserve that, and you all deserve to make your own choices. And so I'm really yeah, it's really hard to hear that you experienced that. But just know that there's so many there. I mean, places like Park Center and other organizations are out there that aren't that way. And you know, and we'd love to support you too, you know. So thanks for sharing that part of your journey.
And
Thank
Ashley,
you.
since there's already an interruption, I'm just going to let you, just a time check. We have come on 7:30, just so you know.
Yep. Keep checking my watch. I'm going to just play a few things here for y'all. Just kind of, and then I'm going to dive into some of the resources in Nashville. So the other thing that I really wanted to focus on, Park Center does really, really well, and I've been an integral part of creating this in the organization, is accessing peer support. So I'm going to play a video here in just a minute, kind of hearing from some of our certified peer recovery specialists at Park Center. But I've been a part of bringing a lot of peers into our organization and getting them certified through the state of Tennessee. And at one point I was working, like I've worked with like 21 peers. I was counting the other day. And I've done things like supervised people that don't even work at Park Center to get their peer hours. They have to get 75 hours of peer work to get their certification. And we've also hired peers. Like if you see the picture with Fred there with his dog, that was the group of peers that moved him into housing. And those are all certified peer recovery specialists at Park Center. And they're all in different levels, right? Like Maria on the far left, she took my place as the manager of the SOAR program. You know, we have team leads, we have supervisors, and then we have a chief housing officer that's up here on the right who's a peer, you know. So it's just important that we embed peers into our work so that they can really have connections with people since they've experienced similar things. So I'm going to play this video of park centers here about our peers, because peer work is so incredibly important.
A certified peer recovery specialist is someone that is trained by the state of Tennessee on how to tell their story about their lived experience with mental illness or substance use.
Peers help support other people who are on their journey to recovery.
I use my own experience, strength, and hope to help others find their path to recovery as well.
What I love the most about being a peer is being able to use my own recovery journey to help others and advocate for them and theirs.
I really think being a peer has benefited me in this role because I'm able to look at things in a different way.
I really enjoy being a peer because I think it helps my members relate to me, it helps me relate to them, it builds a relationship built on trust and transparency, and I also think it helps them realize that they can meet their goals for recovery.
When I see people who are in similar situations, it helps me to know what to say that will actually reach them and make them feel like they are not the only ones who feel this way.
When I was in active addiction, I felt like I was in a dark room and there was no way out. And so one day someone came and they flipped the light switch and they said, "Here's my hand, please take it." And I want to be that person for our folks and show them, here's the light, here's my hand, let's go.
I think peers are important because they know the struggle and they can help you every step of the way.
We're able to put ourselves into their shoes and understand how difficult it can be sometimes throughout the journey.
We can share what our journey has been like, what our experiences are, to build that trust, that rapport with someone who maybe is distrustful.
One of the things that I have dealt with since childhood was suicidal ideations. In the line of work that I do, if I encounter somebody who is experiencing any kind of suicidal ideations or self-harm of any sort, I sit with them, I listen to them, I share my story with them as well, and I help them get the help that they need through mental health treatment and even the crisis center if they need it.
I work really hard with the people in our housing to help them find their path to recovery and stay on that path. And so, yeah, you're never alone. There's always hope. There's always help. If I can do it, you can do it. And just ask.
So that is really, peers are so important. And I that really just kind of, explained it all. I think that I've heard a few of y'all talk about doing peer support. I've seen peer support really change people's lives. And it's such an incredible thing. And there's resources out there. I'm going to show y'all here in just a minute. There's resources if you have a family member or a member or someone that you care about that experiences mental illness and may not be ready. Connecting them with a peer is so incredibly important because they can see that someone else has been down a similar path and they can learn from them and learn from their experience. So I'm going to briefly just run through these because I know we're going to get short on time here in just a minute, but care coordination, we've kind of talked about it already, but it's really important that we connect and we talk. And if you're an outreach worker or a case manager or a hospital staff, it's so important to in building trust by communicating with other people that are also working with that person. And it helps minimize the duplication of care. It prevents burnout. You're not doing everything. So just keep that in mind that it's really, really important. And if you're someone that's needing to access housing, involve all your people together, have them talking because we can get so much more accomplished if we do it all together as opposed to siloed support and siloed work. So now we're going to jump into some services that are in Nashville that can support people. This is just a very small amount of folks. I didn't even know you're going to be on here from Dismiss, Shelby, but Dismiss is a wonderful program. There's Renewal House, the next door, Urban Housing Solutions has housing, Centerstone has levels of housing, Room in the Inn has housing. True Care Transformation is one of my favorite like group homes for folks. So this is just, I wanted to kind of touch on that there are a lot of different housing options for people. And the best way to find the housing program that is best suited for you is this Recovery Within Reach website. I'm not sure if y'all have heard of this before, but I do just want to show you just a snippet of how to find housing. It's an amazing resource. And what you do is you can come to this website, you can search for housing, and you just type in, if you're looking for housing in Nashville, Tennessee, you can have, there's all different types of levels here. So there's group homes and boarding homes and recovery housing, rental housing, Section 8. So if you were to like click on rental housing, and you can go down and you can see all these different housing programs that rent out housing. And this is like Urban Housing Solutions, so Fisk Court, Mercury Court. These are a lot of the different Urban Housing Solutions units, Rex Court, River Terrace. So and then if you were looking for, if say you were looking for a supported housing program, you could go here and look at, I think it's probably under group homes, but you can look here and there's going to be just different housing options that you can click on. And here's Matthew House, I was thinking, here's Park Center stuff. So here's our like emerging adults housing program, and here's our other youth, and we have a female supported house, and we have youth housing, and we have men's supported housing. So it's just really a helpful way that you can find everything in one place. And so this is very, very helpful. It's also helpful to know that if you wanted to connect one of your folks with a peer, you can come here and they will, and these are just different peer support groups and also ways to get connected to a peer. You can find that on this website as well. So this will be in the PowerPoint that you all can access, but it's got a lot of really great resources in here that can help you get connected here in Tennessee. So it's Tennessee wide, but you just want to put in Nashville or whatever county you're looking for. So that concludes our discussion tonight. I was going to go more deeply into Park Center services, but I think we're short on time. I would love the group that's here. I could send you all our RAT card information, or I'm happy to chat with anybody afterwards. You know, y'all can give me a call tomorrow or what have you if you have other questions, but that's what I've got. And here's all my contact information here too. And I did want to just mention, you guys, this is a really special picture. This is the first group of, in probably 1987, of our housing residents when we first started our housing program. So I thought it was a really special picture to put in since we were talking about housing tonight.
I lived through those times. I remember 1987. That shouts 1987. That photo.
It sure does. So yeah, here's my contact information. Don, do you typically send emails out afterwards with the information, or
yes.
do you put it up on the website? Okay.
You're welcome I can, if anybody needs Ashley's contact information, feel free to email me. But when I send the presentation later, if you need her email address, just let me know.
And does anyone have any questions or further discussion, or want to know anything more than what we talked about?
I will take that as you were very thorough, but do we have, Eileen, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, this was really, really helpful. And one thing I just wanted to sort of recheck. So if we had a question, like if there was a family that said, hey, you know, we're trying to understand what the housing options are, I could send them to Recovery Within Reach as a good
Yes.
start to looking at, or if they were looking for some peer support, that also would be how they would connect to like a one-on-one person. Am I understanding that?
Well, the Recovery Within Reach is where they can just go and research. They're not going to get a one-on-one person with Recovery Within Reach.
Okay.
Where they'll get a one-on-one person is that coordinated entry. If the person is experiencing homelessness, then Metro Social Services, and I'm happy, Dawn, to kind of send you like a recap email with some links and stuff and like phone numbers and all of that. I didn't go super deep because I didn't have a whole lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of different opportunities. But for if someone's experiencing homelessness, they
Then
can go through the coordinated entry, and there are organizations like Metro Social Services and Room in the Inn and other organizations like that that can get people entered into that single point of entry, the coordinated entry.
Okay.
But there's also, you know, and then there's also like referrals to Park Center, like our employment program or our SOAR program or housing, you know, levels. If someone's already on disability benefits and they need a supported housing program, we're always looking for referrals there. Or if someone needs a substance use treatment program, we have, you know, options there. So I just didn't go a whole lot deeper, but I'm happy to send an email that has it all spelled out for folks if they'd like.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
helpful. Just kind of, you know, if I need this, and then sort of which is the best point of entry. I think that would be a great clarity under, you know, there's so many opportunities, just kind of where do I start?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Ashley, I have one other question. This
Sure.
is such a good presentation. I wanted to know, with these sorts of supportive housing, or if it, let's say like someone wanted to get rent something through Park Center's help, or if you are on in another program like Choices through Blue Care, is that like, can you get Choices and live in one of those sorts of houses? If that makes sense.
So the Choices program, is it a housing voucher or is it just
It's just
or
kind of like community home and community based, like where I just get a caregiver that would come in like some hours a day through that just for the physical problems.
Yeah, so because it's not the same, so if you are having, so our supported housing is for people that have the severity of the mental health condition, and maybe their mental health is they're going in and out of the hospital and they need to learn more independent living skills around their mental health condition. Then they can access our supported housing. We have had Choices caregivers come in to help people with short-term physical health stuff. But if the physical health impairment would impact their ability to live kind of independently, then that may not be the best fit for the person. Now, if the physical health is not, I mean, it's severe, but it's not like you can still, you know, care for yourself and bathe on your own and all of that, then you could meet criteria for us as well. And it would not be double dipping because it is it's like two separate services.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's
Yes,
great.
of course. Yeah, Medicaid is very, you know, they're very clear on we can't double dip. So like we can't get, like, this is just an example, like psychiatric rehabilitation. We have a day program as well where people can come who have Medicaid to learn skills. We do money management and we do art therapy and we do like, you know, meditation activities and things like that. And we do psychiatric rehabilitation there. And then we also do it in the homes, like in our supported housing homes. And so we have to be really careful because we don't want to like, it's like, it could be double dipping if you're doing it like simultaneously. you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And so it's just very clear. But like if they're not in the house, but they're going to the day program, then they're not getting it in the house and they can get it there. You know, we
Right.
just can't go see them at, so it gets a little tricky. But
Okay.
in that situation that you just explained, it's very different. Like one's a
Mhm.
physical health track and one's a mental health track.
Okay, great.
Do you have any current openings in your day program?
Oh, yes. Our day program always has openings. And you have to have, for our day program, you have to have Medicaid. We don't have a private pay option at this time. We also have an IOP program, but you do not have to have income or insurance for that. A lot of IOP programs in the community require insurance, but you have to have the co-occurring, the mental health and the substance use.
Okay, and what would the criteria for the day program?
I mean,
Just a mental health
have
diagnosis?
have a diagnosis of a mental health condition and
Okay,
have and
awesome.
have Medicaid, and that's it. There's no income
Medicaid.
requirements or anything.
Okay, and then one more question. I'm sorry,
Sure.
Daniel. One more question. For yours, I think it was called, I'm gonna mess it up, but for the program, like for individuals that want to work, do they have to be in your housing, or is that somebody that they have to be in your housing in order
No,
to?
they
Okay,
do
okay,
not.
that's a separate thing.
It's a separate program. So
Okay,
all of our
awesome.
programs,
Thank
and I'm
you.
also happy, I'm happy to share that slide again. I kind of rushed through it because I wanted to give y'all time for questions, but our programs at Park Center are all their own separate entity. Like you don't, like our disability assistance and employment and day program, like you don't have to be in one of our other programs to access those services. We take external referrals all the time.
Actually, I really enjoyed your presentation. You
Thank you.
mentioned the continuum of housing, like the slide with the arrows moving different directions. What would you say to somebody who has gone through the group home process, they've transitioned to independent living, but they're being priced out? Basically, their income, their SSDI or whatever, is not keeping pace with the increases of pay or the
rent.
charges going up, the rent. Yes. What would you say to somebody who's getting eviction letters and they're really just trying to live week to week, month to month, to make ends meet? Are there options for somebody at that stage?
Yes, I'd say go find an affordable housing program like Urban Housing Solutions or Park Center, or because we get that all the time. People are like, I can't afford my rent, and they're getting eviction notices. And so to prevent eviction, we want to quickly get them into another housing option. So Park Center's permanent supportive housing program, our max rent is $385. And if you have, in some of our units, now I will say some of our units are based off of your income. So if you have a $2,000 disability check, then it's going to be 30% of that, right? So that's going to be higher. But I'm saying all of our base, like if and that's just because we have HUD funded housing that they require, like it's subsidized, and so they require there to be a 30% of your income level in those houses. But in our other housing, we do not do it based on their income. You know, it's you know, because some people have zero income. You know, we literally have some people in our housing that have zero income because we have the housing first model. So, I mean, I would say to explore places like Urban Housing Solutions, which is considered an affordable housing program. And they're a nonprofit, so they don't go up. I mean, they go up on rent, like everyone goes up on rent. I mean, I will say Park Center hasn't gone up on rent in several years. But that's because we want to be accessible and because we get grants to subsidize. And that's because people are important to us and we don't want them to end up back on the streets. I hope that answered your question. I feel like there's so many different, like, because you, in that continuum, you're in that rental housing spot, right? And so you have permanent supportive housing, you know, that you could step back into, or the person could step back into to be able to afford the rent.
Right, right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your response.
Sure.
Question, I'm looking on the Recovery Within Reach site as we speak, and was searching for options for a veteran and various criteria. It came back saying that you must have TennCare insurance. One of the issues with my brother is it used to be he didn't have enough money. Now he's got VA disability and
Yep.
SSDI,
So he's
and
got
so
too much.
he doesn't qualify for HUD housing. So is there a ceiling on how much someone can make as well?
So for Park Center housing,
Yeah.
no,
Okay,
no,
good.
because we hear that all the time. People are like, so that he can't get a HUD dash voucher like through the through VA.
He had one, and it was
Yep.
wonderful because there was a case manager that he would
Yep.
talk to when he wouldn't want to talk to me. Then she advocated for him to get his VA
Yep.
raised to
100%.
100%
Yep.
disability,
Yep.
and that priced him out. So we lost the case manager, we lost the HUD voucher, and
Oh,
had to
that's
go
so,
find a
I
place to live
know.
again.
Yep.
So it's kind of
Park Center does not. Park Center does
Okay.
not. Now, if he's in a unit that would be based on that income, then he would just have a higher rent.
That's fine.
But it's not based on, but if he were to need our like supported housing, but it sounds like he has SSDI, so he wouldn't even be eligible for our supported housing because he has Medicaid, right? I mean, he has Medicare. He has Medicare and VA TRICARE. So he wouldn't be eligible for our supported housing, but he would be eligible for our independent housing that comes with support services. So he could absolutely access that housing.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions for Ashley before we wrap up the evening? All right, Ashley, you were very thorough tonight, and I know you're very open to answering anybody's questions outside of this. If anyone needs to contact Ashley, her information, you will be receiving the PowerPoint presentation in an email, and you did have a slide with your contact information. Before I stop the recording, I want to make just a couple announcements. Our next scheduled education session will be Tuesday. Normally we do them on Wednesday, but in the fall we hold a Tuesday one that corresponds with our family-to-family class. We're having Dr. Joseph Pandit, who is a long-term friend of NAMI Davidson, who'll be coming out and talking about psychiatric medications. That is going to be Tuesday, October 1st at 6:30. That's that week on a Saturday, October 5th, is our third annual Glow Walk at Scarrett Bennett. We encourage you all to come out. That is a nighttime event where we use their labyrinth and light up the night, and we encourage bringing your problems into the labyrinth and coming out with hope. So there's that. I also want to announce that we have hired a new youth and recovery coordinator. Jace Wilder is a former intern of ours and a current volunteer. Jace will be joining us after the Labor Day, September 3rd, so after Labor Day. Along with we have an AmeriCorps volunteer who is joining us late September. We are going to be upping our game in the youth demographic in Davidson County, and we're really looking forward to that because, again, especially with the pandemic and the after effect, teens and young adults are suffering more than ever with mental health issues, and we want to be there for them. So with that, I want to thank Ashley for coming out tonight and talking to us, and thank you all for supporting our programs. If you have any suggestions for future education sessions, please don't hesitate to email me at outreach@namidavidson.org. I will do my best to secure a speaker for the topic, but we are always open for suggestions. So again, if you all will help me thank Ashley one last time for what you did tonight, and everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thank you all so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.